95% of all dog breeders are idiots. They really are. It's really about them getting the dog out there and selling it, making that sale. They're horrible. They're generally speaking, they're horrible. So you get about 5% of breeders that are good, and that's the trick, is that you have to look for that 5%. And one of the things that I would be looking for if I were you, if you were looking for a dog breeder, is a breeder that is also a veterinarian. And the last two dogs that I got, that's what I looked for. They still might be terrible as far as training and stuff goes, but you're getting the dog at 7 weeks. You know, they really haven't had a lot of time to screw the dog up. It's important that you get the dog in the 7th week. That's when the dog should be leaving the litter. You should be splitting them up in the 7th and 8th week. If the dog's staying until the 12th week and longer, you're screwing it up. You're making a huge mistake. That is not proper. Some breeders want to keep the dogs for months, or they say that some kind of reason for keeping the dogs for months. There is no reason. There isn't. What the reason is a lot of times breeders have trouble getting rid of dogs, and like as far as like bird dogs go, dogs that are bred for protection, a lot of times they start these dogs off. So those are started dogs. Like you might get a bird dog that's a started dog, and it's not, I don't recommend it. And the breeder starts training the dog, and they just do this rudimentary field training. As far as like bird dogs go, it's like rudimentary, so the dog can sort of find a bird out there in a field, but usually they don't spend any time on obedience. And obedience is, you know, that's the basis for all your training, is your obedience training. You don't just train the dog to like do scent work. It has to know obedience, and then you start working with it to do scent work. Not just like, oh look, do you understand? A dog that does protection, it has the basis for all its training, which is obedience. It isn't just, oh, I'm going to train the dog to be, that would be a mess. That would be a dangerous dog to be around. So you need to be extremely careful when you're dealing with breeders. If the breeder is telling you that, oh, I think it's important for the dog to stay 20 weeks or, 16 weeks, they're lying to you. They're lying to you. This is all studies that have been done years ago. The 7th and 8th week is when all puppies need to be moved away from the litter. This is true. I'm not making this shit up, and there's no differences in breeds. Like, you don't keep one breed longer and then it's okay. Do you understand? All dogs are a subspecies of the wolf. The little differences in the breeds, it's all a subspecies of the wolf. Don't listen to a breeder. And I will say this, that one, an indication that you are getting the proper a proper dog, a dog that's been bred well, is going to be your price. You should pay on the high end. You should be paying a lot. If you're looking for a lab or something like that, look for a lab that has, or a golden that has like guide dogs bred into it. That could be a good sign. You want a calm dog. You want a calm dog. Like my dog Ike, he has a guide dog line brought in at a point. But for the most part, Ike was a show dog. I got a show dog, which he would have made a good show dog, but as a guide dog or service dog, he's just like too active, so he's a hunting dog. So make sure you know who you're talking to, that it's not just somebody that's giving you a high price. Really, look for a breeder that is a veterinarian. There's several of them out there. There's probably a vet that is a breeder in probably every breed, unless you're talking about something that's sort of rare. The rare breeds, it's kind of, the rare breeds, sometimes you have a good breeder too, because there's like not as much clutter. Like if you look at English Cocker Spaniels, there's not a lot of them. There's only maybe 30, 40 breeders in the United States. This is true. There's not many. But if you look at American Cocker Spaniels, puppy mills. Do you understand? It's different. It's different. You have the American Cocker Spaniel, which was overbred years ago and is still overbred. It is. Not as much as it was in the 70s after Lady and the Tramp, but it's a very overbred type of dog. And then you have a dog where they're the breeders are very kind of closed about it, like the English Cocker Spaniel. Or look at the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is probably never going to be a popular dog, okay? And the breeders have been resistant to change anything about the dog. So you'd have to be a real dog fancier to want a Chesapeake Bay, and you're probably not going to find a bad breeder unless it's somebody that's breeding in their backyard. Backyard breeders are some of the worst. A family that gets a dog and then they breed it with another dog, they don't have any idea what they're doing. Don't do that. Stay away from backyard breeders. Do you understand? And just stay away from, just because somebody has a trained dog, like has a trained dog to do protection, is not a sign that they know anything about breeding. Be careful who you buy your dog from.